am the Career Services Director here at LearningFuze. LearningFuze is an accelerated web development program or coding bootcamp located in Irvine, California. We are a full stack web development program. So today you're going to be hearing from a number of our graduates in the job search who are going to be sharing their full stack applications that they have built as part of their final portfolio. We also have a person who will be presenting on an extension as well. So if you don't know too much about our program, please feel free to check out our website. I put it in the Slack message below, our chat below. And before I turn it over to Omid for our first presenter, just to give you an idea of what you can expect from this programming is we have 4 presenters. Each person will present for about 10 minutes each, followed by 5 minutes of questions for each person. So if you have any questions or any comments about their projects, please feel free to ask. I can also field questions in chat as well. All right, so without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Omid so he can present and share his screen. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am Omid. I'm trying to share my screen with you guys. One moment. Let me get this going. Screen. Can you guys see my screen now? Should be good.
Yes, we can. Thank you, Omid.
Awesome. All right. Again, my name is Omid. I recently graduated from LearningFuze in February. I created this app called Let's Parlay, which is supposed to be a virtual sports book. I became a fan of this idea as I'm a big mixed martial arts fan, and I watched a lot of the UFC, and I would always hear the announcers on TV would say the odds are, plus 125 or minus 135, and I didn't really know what that meant. And I would be watching these events with my little sister, and she was asking me about it, and we kind of got interested in, betting on it one time, and then we opened up the app, and we had no idea what we were doing. It was very complicated. I was literally looking at all these things in front of me, just tapping, and I'm not sure what was happening. So during a course of my studies at LearningFuze, I decided maybe I'll make one of these things, and throughout the process, I'll learn how it works and also have some fun. So I'll go ahead and show you guys how my app works. You can click on any numbers here to try and make a bet, but it'll ask you to log in. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I will sign in. I've already created a guest account, which I'll go ahead and use. So now that I'm logged in, I'll have a little bit of information here for you guys, just telling you what to do. But if you have questions, you could go to my FAQ, which you could do so easily by clicking here. Some basic questions and answers that would help you navigate the app. But now I'm going to go ahead and try to make a bet. Let's go ahead and click on this guy, pen and word. That will take you to this part, which gives you the odds, the name of the winner that you're picking. All you have to do is enter a dollar amount. Let's say I want to bet $100. I'll enter $100, and it'll automatically calculate the payout amount for you. So you click submit. Bet placed successfully. Awesome. But now let's say I have a certain fighter in mind that I don't see here because this list is so long. Let's say this guy, Alexander Pantoja. I'm going to pick him. And then it'll filter down just to his event, just coming up in a few weeks. I'm going to go ahead and, let's say, bet $500 on him. And if you notice, the last bet that I created was 100. So this is the next payout. I just wanted to show you guys the math that has been deducting my bets from the total of $5,000 that I give every user to begin with. Again, this is virtual money, not real money, just for fun. But it just wanted to show you the math that was working properly. All right, so now if I want to view those bets that I just made, I could click here. And there we go. We have the bets, time you made the bets, the amounts, the winner you chose, and when the fight is going to actually take place. And because it hasn't happened yet, the stat is still open. So when the fight occurs, it'll close and tell you if you won or not. And then there's some extra information here if you wanted to, let's say, do some research on the fighters, anything like that. Click on rankings. It'll show you the rankings in each different division. So you gotta get a sense for who's who and who's good. And then this schedule actually takes you to the ESPN schedule page. So you could find out all of the future events that are coming up. And I'll go ahead and now show you guys some of the code that goes into making my app what it is. The main hook that I use in my app, the custom hook that I made, use fetch events, is right here. Calls my API, which gives me a whole bunch of events and a whole bunch of casinos and like sports books to choose from. And I didn't want to use all that, so I kind of picked my favorite. And from then on, I kind of narrowed down the information that I needed, which was pretty much the fighters' names, the odds and the payouts that they would each win you or lose, depending on how you choose. And then I also wanted to limit the amount of calls that I would make to the API. So I limited it with this interval here to just once a day. And this is the part that's actually I'm really proud of and how it came out looking really nice. Is it takes all the fighters' names and this part is responsible for creating a string set that finally leads to my search box working properly and giving me those suggestions. It makes it really easy to navigate the app. And then the information that I got on the previous page, I put on my odds tables, which is how you got those tables with the numbers on them, which finally goes into my homepage, which is right here. And then finally, last but not least, the simple calculation that goes into getting those payouts that I was showing you guys. Really simple. And in Europe, I guess they do a percentage. In America, we like to complicate things a little bit, and we do this called the American odds. So it looks like that. The underdog gets the positive. So when you see a plus 150, that means that person is supposed to be the underdog. And then minus whatever ends up being the favorite. So you just plug in those numbers here, and it'll tell you how much dollars you would be winning if you were to choose the right fighter. And that's basically it for my presentation. And you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Omid. If there are any questions, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. If you would prefer to type that in chat, that's okay too. I'm happy to field any questions in chat as well.
Hey, Omid, this is John from Zymer Research. Great job on your project. I also remember you showing me your app, as you were building it out, and it's looking very, very nice. I'm just wondering, what was the hardest thing you had to figure out in your app? And how did you solve that issue or problem?
The hardest thing for me to figure out was figuring out which API to use because they do not at all tailor to students and people with, I guess, my type of customers. They typically cater to big businesses and startups. So how I navigated that was just contacting their customer support and just, open communication, letting them know what I wanted the API for. And they offered me trial keys that I could use, and it was plenty enough for me to get the job done. But yeah, just communicating enough with them and showing my enthusiasm for what I was trying to achieve was kind of the key to getting those API keys and access.
That's really cool how you communicate with them personally and you just asked and they provided it to you. So that was really, really awesome. That's pretty cool.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Are there any other questions for Omid? I have a question for you, Omid. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice on the creation of your app, what do you think you would tell yourself?
One piece of advice. Gosh, I would just have more fun with it. Kind of stressed out a little bit too much sometimes. And I would take it slower. I had this piece of advice, which is kind of odd, but someone wise, told me that sometimes in life and also in school, you go faster by going slower. If that makes sense, I think my instructors would also agree. When I rush things and I'm trying to get so much done in a little time, I tend to, make mistakes that are not necessary. So by going slower, I go faster, is what I would like done.
Wonderful. All right, I think we might give one more shot for questions for Omid before we move on to our next presenter. Any final questions? You feel free to unmute yourself or place them in chat. I'm happy to field chat questions as well. All right. Let's go ahead and if you wouldn't mind not sharing your screen, Omid, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next presenter, which is going to be Henry Pham. Just to give you a heads up, in the chat, I've included the list of our presenters, including their LinkedIn URLs. So you'll be able to get in touch with them on LinkedIn if you desire. So, all right, Henry, you are on deck.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Hi, I'm Henry, and my project is called Pigeon Chat. So it's a chat, it's like a messaging platform. Think about like Discord or Slack. So it's basically a chat app for instant messaging. Let me share my screen, sorry. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So the main feature about my app is that everything occurs in real time. So sending a friend request, sending a message to someone, everything will update on the user screen in real time. And let me demonstrate that. Oh, let me start up, sorry. Sorry about that.
That's
Forgot
okay.
to start up the server.
That's okay, Henry. While you're working on that, just to the few people who joined us a little bit more recently, I've also put the LearningFuze website in chat if you would like to check out our website and learn more about our program. We have a full stack web development program, both full-time, part-time, in-person, and remote. And we also have a data science program as well.
So let me log in. Should be working now. Okay. So I made two sample accounts just for testing purposes. So let me try adding these two users. Just type in their username. Okay, so I received the friend request in real time, so I'm going to accept it. And then on this user's end, the friend request is updated in real time. This one too. Now I want to send a message. I'll send it to Bobby. So on both the sender and receiver side, everything is updated in real time. So how this is implemented is that I'm using a library called Socket.io. So it's basically a way that I can have my client and the server communicate back and forth in real time. And the way it works is that my server listens for events occurring from the client, like someone just sent a message, someone sent a friend request. It listens for that event, the server listens for that event, and then when that happens, it updates the backend and gives the appropriate update to the client. So let's say a client receives a message. I don't want them to have to refresh the page just to know that they received a new message. So this client, the server are constantly listening for these events, and it updates the screen accordingly. Let me show you the code. Okay. So to have everything work in real time, I have to initialize the connection between the client and the server, and I need to keep track of what users are currently online. So I have an event listener. So I wait for users to connect to the app. Once they're connected to my chat app, I request for some further information like the user ID and other user data from the client. And I have a dictionary that keeps track of all users that are currently online. So let's say Alex sends a message to Bob. If Bob is online, I want to update his screen and give him new messages that he received from Alex. So I have to keep track of all the users that are currently online. And let me show you the implementation for the chat message handling. Okay, so here, the server listens for an event called a chat message event. So whenever the user sends a message to someone, it triggers this event. And then once the server receives this event, I want to update the database. So I have a SQL query. I update the database. I add this new message to the database. And I want to check for who is receiving this message. And if this message, if this the user receiving this message is currently online, I want to make sure that they're receiving the update on their screen. Then I send the client like event like that, hey, you received a new message, and then the client will update their screen. And that's how I have everything set up to occur in real time. That's pretty much it for the main gist of the implementation, and that's my project.
All right, thank you very much, Henry. Are there any questions for Henry at this time? Please feel free to unmute yourself or place them in chat.
Sure. Hi there. My name is Reed. I'm
Hi, Reed.
joining him on board to see some of the demos. I'm curious, what inspired you to create the chat app, and what was that kind of like? What was it kind of an interest of personal interest, or was it something that you just really wanted to build and that was the target?
So I wanted to showcase something that shows what I learned from the bootcamp, but also I want to go like above and beyond and learn new technology that we didn't learn, because I wanted to, like, I put in a lot of work in the bootcamp and I wanted to showcase that, oh, I'm not just limited to what we learned. I now like am better at reading documentation and learning new things on my own. So I spent and I thought that something similar to like Discord would be a complex project to work on. So I looked into Socket.io and server client event handling stuff, and yeah.
Very cool. So was the Socket.io part the part that was new?
Yeah, so that's how I handled the client server communication.
Oh, thank you, Reed. Appreciate it.
Henry, awesome job. So when you're reading into the documentation for Sokka.io, what were some things that you learned from LearningFuze that helped you learn new technology?
So the learning structure is like a flipped classroom. So you're reading documentation first, then going over it as a class. So because you're learning, you're getting a lot of the learning from reading the documentation, like it gets you used to like going through all that, reading through all those lines of text and trying to figure out how things work.
Thank you.
Awesome job. It's very impressive.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions for Henry at this time? I have a question for you, Henry. And this one might not be too surprising, but if you could go back in time and give your past self one piece of advice regarding your project, what would you tell your past self?
I would sort out all my ideas in probably a project management tool like Trello or something, because there was a lot of features I wanted to work on, and I started getting a feature creep and I didn't know what feature to work on. There's a lot of like little details that I could update, but like a tool to keep track of all the ideas that I want to work on would have helped me on this a lot.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much, Henry. We're probably going to move on to our next presenter. So our next presenter on deck is Kevin Lay. He is actually going to demo an extension that he created. So take it away when you're ready, Kevin.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? Oh, let me actually. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can. And I
Is
think
it-
the volume's okay.
Okay. Do you see a ChatGPT?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so sorry. Hi, my name is Kevin, guys. I'm a LearningFuze alumni, graduated in May of 2023. And since then, I've been doing a lot of upskilling by working on like solo projects, group projects, and some freelance work. And then today, I'm going to be showing off a group project that some alumni and I created. It's a Chrome extension for ChatGPT users who are looking to spice up their user experience. And we accomplish this by allowing customizable styles and implementing quality of life improvements and adding even extra functionality. So here you can see just regular ChatGPT without our extensions. I kind of think it's like not the easiest to distinguish between like my messages and ChatGPT's responses. When I get a code snippet back, sometimes it like overflows, which is a little annoying, even though there's like plenty of room on the sides. So let's check it out with our extension now. Let me refresh this page. So here's with our extension, you can see we already went ahead and increased the width of the message boxes. I think it's a lot easier to distinguish between your messages and ChatGPT's messages with alternating background colors. With these extra styles we added, you can also actually customize. Sorry, let's move this over. We can actually customize our settings, our custom settings that we added. So, for example, you could change the max width. You could change the padding of the messages. You can change the border radius of the messages. You can change the width of the text area down here. Also change the background color and the text color of either yours or ChatGPT's messages. You can save your settings so that if you refresh the page, your settings are still saved. You can restore to defaults or just cancel back to your saved settings. And we even have this scroll to top button that we added. So I guess quickly I'll go over how we can get our pop-up here with the sliders to do these live changes. So we can go ahead and check out the code. A big thing about Chrome extensions is going to be the manifest JSON file. This is going to like dictate everything, like how the extension operates, everything from like the metadata of the name, description, the version number. We can also specify what files we want to run in the background, and then which files we want to inject into URLs that match the specified one. So in our case, we want to inject our content script file into URLs that start with this, which is going to be ChatGPT. So let's check out our content script files. So this is the thing that's going to be injected into ChatGPT's DOM. So you can see here, line 8, we create a style element, and we are going to append this to the head of the document. This line here is what we use to populate our style elements text content with the user saved settings. If there's no saved settings, then we use our default settings. If you look here on line 9, we give our custom style an ID of custom style. So if I go ahead and inspect ChatGPT's DOM into the head, we should find a style element right here with the ID of custom style. This is our style element. You can see the text content is some selectors and CSS properties, the values. So for example, the max width of the containers, if I go ahead and change it on the pop-up, I don't know if you can see it on the inspector, but it's at 88. If I change it here, the value is changed in the DOM of ChatGPT. So the way we wanted to go about it, we didn't want our pop-up to live in ChatGPT's DOM, so we made it its own thing. So now we need a way for our pop-up to communicate to this content script since it doesn't live here. And thankfully, Chrome API has an easy way to do that. You can just set up this on-message listener here in our content scripts. And so our pop-up will communicate to our content scripts with this. So let's check out our pop-up. Here's our pop-up. Big takeaways here. We have a state for our live settings that gets set on when the pop-up is mounted with the user's saved settings. If they don't have any saved settings, then it'll use the default settings. Here's what our settings interface is going to look like, just keys with each customizable setting we have. Our pop-up is composed of 3 views. I'm going to be showing you the sliders, which is inside the message editor view. We pass it in our state of settings. Let's check out our message editor. Again, it's the sliders, the colors, and the form buttons. I'll try to show you guys quick. Be showing you guys the sliders. So again, we pass our sliders, the live settings. Here's our sliders. We have this array of data we're going to use to map through to create each slider. And each slider consists of a label, a text input, and a range input. And these inputs are going to be controlled inputs. That's why we needed to pass the state all the way down. But the most important thing is going to be the onChange handler. Well, besides changing the state, our onChange handler also will call this function, which is, it's called send message to tab. We're going to pass it the setting key that corresponds to which setting we're updating, which slider we're using, basically, along with the current, the user input. So let's check out this function. It's defined over here in this file. Depending on what we pass this function, we'll do different things. In our case, we're going to pass it the max width setting, as well as the user input. If we do that, what ends up happening is we call this update styles. We pass it again, the max width with the user input. Since we do that, we end up getting to this line of code. This line of code is an object, and we just index it with the setting and pass it the new value. What this object is, though, this is what we use to basically format the user's values into the correct CSS selector and CSS properties that we need for each specific setting. So for example, since we did max width, we index our settings controller with key message max width. It passes it in the user's input. It generates the selector with the proper CSS property and the user's input. It assigns it to these placeholder variables up here. After we go ahead and update that variable to the new value, we concatenate all those variables together, which are nothing but selectors and properties for the corresponding settings, turn it into a giant string, and we send that giant string all the way back to the content scripts where our custom style that we created, its text content, gets reassigned to that giant string. And basically that's how we achieve live settings, live updates through our pop-up here. That's it for my demonstration. Our extension is actually out in the Chrome store right now. I'd appreciate it if anyone downloads it and gives me any feedback. My LinkedIn's posted in the chat. Feel free to connect. Any feedback would be appreciated. And thank you for your time. Do I have any questions?
Any questions for Kevin?
It's funny. I think that was going to be my first question. Is like, when is this going to the Chrome store?
Yeah,
no,
it's out right now.
Yeah.
I'll actually post it in the Slack link, or I mean the Zoom link, sorry.
Mhm.
Shut up. Oh,
So yeah, I guess my real question, now that you've already answered the first one, is around kind of the immediate use of something like a Chrome plugin. This, like, I love the application of just being able to immediately use something. You have something that's like instantly could go to the store already. And I'm curious, like, what was that the idea from the start? Like, I'm gonna go and like I want to put something like out in the world, or was that just kind of like filling an own need?
so I think I got really lucky because this was not my idea. The project leader is actually, he has professional experience, and I think his company works directly with Chrome extensions. So he has Chrome extension experience. I actually never met him. I knew somebody else that he knew who added me to the project and was able to vouch for me. And especially when they told me about the idea, I was very on board because I don't use ChatGPT too much, but my biggest, I did notice when this thing overflows. And so when they told me like, oh, we're working on an extension, and then when I realized, oh, we can solve some problems this way, I was very on board. Also knowing that he had professional experience, it was very nice. He was able to set up our group with like Trello tickets, like professional PRs. It was the most professional environment I've ever been in so far. So that was really nice.
How did you, I guess, get in touch with the team leader? Like, how did that process happen?
So he was actually my senior when I was going to LearningFuze. He was in the senior class of me. I didn't really talk to him too much, but he would talk to some of my other cohort mates, and so it was one of my cohort mates who got me into this project, where I ended up becoming just the main contributor.
Okay. How many other people were working on this project with you? Besides the team
So
leader?
we have it's the project lead, me, two other developers, and then one QA tester.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can see the difference between the before and after. It's night and day. It's just so much easier to read, especially when you get to customize it in the way that you
Yeah.
wish. Lots
a
of
little easier.
functionality. Yeah, very nice.
There you go.
All right, the power of networking. All right, are there any other questions for Kevin? Okay, I'm going to ask my last question to you, Kevin. If you go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice regarding the creation of this project, what piece of advice would you give?
I have to say to force yourself, or at least myself, to take breaks, because I definitely was overworking myself. I was actually working on this and another project at the same time, and they both kind of had similar deadlines. And I definitely was overworked myself. Now I know I probably don't take on too many projects at once. I definitely force myself to take at least one day off now on the weekends where I just don't do any coding. And overall, I think that has helped my mental health. Yeah.
Good advice. Good advice. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. If you wouldn't mind unsharing your
Oh, yeah.
screen, and no problem. We'll get ready for our next presenter, which is Vorleak. I'll go ahead and turn it over to her so she can introduce herself and present the project she's created.
Hello everyone, my name is Vorleak. I graduated from LearningFuze in February as a part-time student, and I implemented this simple Pokemon matching card game for anyone who is looking for fun and wanted to play a matching card game. Let me try to share this with sound first. 1 second. Okay, so yeah, so there for this applications, there are 3 different levels to select from, and then also there are 3 different card themes that I can select from. So level 1 would have 6 cards, and then level 2 will have 12 cards, and then level 3 will have 18 cards, and I can select from one of these card themes. So for example, if I go to level 3 with the island as a card theme, and then click play, it will render 18 cards with this image for the card theme. And then I can go back to the homepage by clicking on this setting icon. And then I can select another level, let's say level 2 with the Ash and Pikachu, and click play. And then, so now it will render 12 cards with this image instead. So let me go back to the home, homepage to select level 1 and then pick a ball image. So it will render 6 cards now. And then here I'm keeping track of the timing and also keeping track of the total clicks so that I can calculating the score when the game is finished. If I click on a card, it will flip over to show the image Pokemon and then also the name. Can you guys hear the sound? This?
No, but if you like, if you go to the more button on the bottom of your screen where you see kind of like the dot, 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 there'll be an option for you to share your screen.
Yeah, I believe I click on share sound, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it now? Maybe I can, maybe I can just keep going, I guess. Or
Okay.
unshare the screen and then reshare it.
Yeah, you can try that if you like.
Okay, so let me try stop sharing screen and then
And there
reshare.
should be a button there when you go to share screen that says share sound.
Yes. Okay. And then can you hear? Still no?
Try
I
it
can
again.
hear it.
Oh, you can
I
hear?
can hear it. There it is.
Okay, cool. Okay, perfect. Cool. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, so when we click on so when I click on a card, it will flip over to show the image and then also the name of the Pokemon. So now if I click on another card, it will remain flipped if the two card matches. And then if they're not the same, then they both will flip back. So for example, here they both will flip back because the two doesn't match. And then these two will match. So then they remain flipped. And these two, and then after I completed the game, it will show me the result page with the number of stars that the player earned. And so here I can go to click play again, or I can choose to go to the next level. If I go to the next level, it's just gonna render 12 cards instead of 6 now. And then I can also go to the leadership board to view some of the top players from each level here. So let me go back to the home page and then select level 1. So talk about how I'll get the Pokemon image and also the name, and then also I'll talk about the flipping card interaction here. So let me set up the page really quick. Okay, so to get the Pokemon image, I basically generate a random number between 1 and 1,000, and then use that number as a Pokemon ID to make the API request to the Pokemon API website to get the name and then also get the front default image here. And then for the logic for the flipping card game, I store this card's use state variables, which is like an array of object. So it's basically keeping track of the current state and the whole card set. So this is how it looks like. So yeah, it's an array of object, and then with each object can have this property of name of the Pokemon, the image URL, the card ID, and then also the isFlip property. Right now it's set to false because the card hasn't been flipped yet. And then this flip count variable is to counting to a consecutive card flips. So it's either it's going to be 0, 1, or 2 because I want to compare two cards at the same time. And then I also storing this flip card variables to store the previous card click and also the current card click. And so it's an array of object. So for example, here right now, I don't have any card flip, so it's set to 0 and an empty array. So if I click on here, it will update this to 1 and then adding this card object into this array. If I click on another card, it will update this to 2. And then it's also going to add that object into this array. But then it's going to reset it really quick. So I believe right here it's showing as 0 and an empty array instead because it's like adding and then it's reset it based on the way I coded. So yeah, and then for the reveal count, this will store the total number of cards that are currently that are correctly, so that I can know when the game is finished. And this total click is to keep track of the total count the user has flipped the card. So it's this number right here. So for the React rendering, I take this card array of objects and then map each object to display each card using this card React component. So when I click on a card, it will call this handle card click function that is taking the current card click as an argument. And so when I click on a card, it will trigger this. It will trigger in this handle card click functions, which is checking if the flip count is less than 2. And then also is checking if the current card click is not already flipped yet. So if these two conditions are met, then I want to adding that click card object into this array and then updating the state, and then also increment the flip count by 1. And then I'm also changing this is flip property of the card to true so that the card will flip over using the CSS transform. So see here, now it's a true instead of false. And then, so if I click on the card, another card, it will also calling this function, but it's also going to triggering this use effects because now I'm going to meet these conditions where 2 cards has been flipped. And so I need to compare the 2 cards. So I compare the 2 cards by looking at their image URL. So if the 2 images are the same, then I'm just looking through the whole card set, and then also looking for the 2 card by comparing the ID number, and then set the is flip property for the 2 cards to be true, and then left everything other card the same. And then after that, I just increment the total number of the correct matching card to 2. And then I need to reset this flip card variable to an empty array to account for the next 2 cards that I click. And then also I'm changing this flip count to 0 to reset it. So the start counting for the next 2 cards. So now if they are not the same, then I am also going to reset the flip count to an empty array, and then also setting the flip count to 0. But now instead of setting the is property to true, I'm setting it to false. So that's the 2 card will flip back. Yeah, and then for the last, after the last 2 card has been flipped, then I'm just calculating the score, and then also setting the number of star, and then sending the request to the server to make the data, update the data on the database. And then after that, I just navigate to the result page. So this is how I do it on the server side. So here I'm basically checking to make sure that the values are defined properly here. And then also I am making this update for this update this column with these specific values that I'm passing in. And then here I am updated based on the latest created row based on the user ID and then also the game level. So because when I first selecting the level on the homepage, it will make a post request to create a row in the database, but if you have this null value for these columns, and then after I finishing the game, it's just updating that row with the specific value. So it should look something like this afterward. I think this is no because I never completed the game. I just make a like yeah, setting the game and then never finish it. So it never got updated. So, and then here, yeah, I'm using the parameterized query to avoid the SQL injection attack. So I have defining the value in this array, and then using that array, and then using this the dollar sign and then the number to use the variable from here. And that is all I wanted to present for the demo. Is there any question for me or anything you would like to see?
Go ahead, Reed. Yeah,
I'll jump
thank
in.
you.
Yeah, I'll jump in again. I love how like fun this game is just right off the bat, and the amount of complexity that goes into it is certainly appreciated when you walk through the code. I'm curious, as far as, because it is kind of a complex thing to keep track of game state, what is or some of the, like, that's one challenge I could think of, but like what are some of the challenges that you ran into with this particular project?
I think when I was starting this project, it was confusing for me. It's like I can clicking on the card, I know I can make that flip because that's just using CSS, right? Like the transform property and then the um, like the rotating Y. And then okay, so first of all, when I was doing this project, the flipping card, I need to research on the CSS how do you make it flip, but also how do you make it look like 3D? So then yeah, I realized we can do something about the perspective and then also using like the preserve 3D to make it look 3D on that. And then I think the challenges is how to actually keeping track of this. So like how to make this flip back and then how to make it stay. And I thought like after I tried, it's like this is not my first version. I wrote the first version, it doesn't work, so I have to scrap it out and redo it. So yeah, so I think and then I realized like after a long I'll do some research and also like talk to instructor and then playing around. I think the key point for this, if I remember correctly, is to keep track of, oh, sorry, is to keep track of this number. Is yeah, to keep track of this, the flip count number. So it has to be like zero, either zero, like nothing is clicked right now, or one, and then two or two. So like one card is select here, or so this is one card and then the next two. And then after this, I have to reset it out because otherwise, it's going to keep like this flip and then this flip and then the next one flip and then you keep flipping and it doesn't know like when to stop and then when to reset. So after like playing around so many times, I realized that okay, so you know what, if we just keep track of this two, like this count, it has to be 0, 1 or 2, and then also keeping track of this flip card array. So like I'm only storing 2 cards at the same time, at 2 cards at a time, so that these two, I think these two were, if I remember correctly, these two variable were like the main solutions to solving my problem. Of like before, when I was doing, I was like it. I click on this card, I click on this card, I click on every card, and it just click, flip, and then like okay, so what to do? Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you, Vorleak. Go ahead, John.
That was great. Who knew a card matching game can be so complex, right? So I just want to give you my props. This is really, really cool. I guess if you want to continue on working on this project, what are some, I guess, new features or some additional things that you'd want to add to this project?
So one of the instructor actually suggested me to use socket.io so that I can play it with multiple players. So here is only one player. I was looking into the socket.io to do that, but I didn't have enough time right now. So like and yeah, so I think I put a pause on this one for now, and then I'm actually trying to do a different project for the e-commerce now, like shopping online. So just I have a different feel on each. So this is like a game, and then and then I'm working on the other one with the e-commerce, which is probably have a different challenge, especially with the back end when you try to add the item to the cart and paying the bill. But yeah.
So to actually ask, follow up on that one, since you're going to be using, building an e-commerce website, and it's also going to be using databases too. What are some lessons that you think you learned from creating this app that you'll bring over to the e-commerce project?
I think for sure it's a database. The schema. So when I was first doing this schema on the database, the first version doesn't look like this at all. Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was doing with the database schema. So it was a mess. It was a mess. And then like I think more than halfway to the to building this app, and I realized that okay, this is supposed to be like this is simple. Like it should be just this. And then I just insert some of the data for here as for um like having this some of this data here. So yeah, so I think it's gonna help me a lot with the how the interaction of these the data schema. And I think I will have to just kind of take it slowly a little bit on to design the data schema for the e-commerce. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Is there any other question or anything else that you would like to see? All right, if not, I'll stop sharing the screen and pass it back to Adriana.
Sure. Well, I'll follow up with my last question, Vorleak. If you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice regarding this project, what would you tell your past self?
I would say to take things slowly, especially on the database. Yeah, I kind of fly through, I guess, because in my opinion at the time it was like I just want to get the game page to run, so like I just pass through that and then just working mostly just on the game page, and then once I have that working, and then I go back to the database and then all the other page. But I think it would have been better or if I just take it a little bit slowly and just think about through and then have database design so I don't get panic toward the end. Yeah, for the deployment. Yeah, because within this project, I don't know what happened, but the deployment on the AWS like it was for some reason it was complicated for me. Like I had to redeploy a lot of time to get it to work. Like it, yeah, there was some issue with the deployment basically. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Vorleak. Well, that is our demo day presentation, everybody. I just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to learn a little bit more about our program, meet some of our graduates in the job search, and to learn what kind of work actually comes from our coding bootcamp. I know many of you here already have my contact information, but I've also included it in chat just in case my LinkedIn URL, so you can get a hold of me there, or even my email address. If you have any questions, after this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. A big congratulations to our presenters. I know the work that went into these projects was pretty monumental, and taking the time and effort to present your work to a live audience is impressive as well. So. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you again for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.